Sure.
I feel like that was easy.
I don't even see my pick number.
Okay, who made a pick?
It's just
I made
on
a
the
pick.
system,
You already
right?
Oh, well, we were
Oh, let
already.
me
That's
out. Hold on.
fine.
How do you see the order?
The
Who
clock.
made a pick
Someone
already?
picked
I
already.
did.
Okay, all right. Well, all right. So I just went live now. So go ahead.
Listen,
Go-
I was
already.
I was on the clock. Okay.
He had a minute. He had to choose.
That's fine. All right.
I picked Christian McCaffrey. I feel like that's obvious.
So nobody say anything because I'm going to start doing the intro, and then we'll come back to the picks that have been made.
Yeah,
since.
because
Can we pause the time then?
I can't pause it.
No, you can't
All
pause
right, then.
Someone got to pick that.
Tyler, you're gonna have to pick.
Got it.
Yeah.
You guys just want me to make a new lobby?
it. No, we're good.
No, I like having
Okay.
the first pick.
Okay, hell yeah.
Of course you
Okay.
did.
All right, but
course
I'm
he
starting the
does.
show. 5, 4, 3, 2. Welcome to another episode of the Around the 412 Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Smitty. Donnie, my co-host, is one of the people that you're seeing if you're watching this right now. We are joined by 6 of our friends to do an 8-man mock draft for you guys. Donnie and I have been talking a lot about different strategies that we like to implement, and we are going to bring some of them to life right in front of you guys, see what different strategies these guys might have, how they might like to roll. We tried zero running back, zero receiver. We see how we're going to see, like I said, how these guys choose to implement whatever strategy they might have. We have made a couple picks already, which we will be talking about right after I tell you guys about our sponsor, Teats Barbershop. Teats Barbershop is an old-fashioned barbershop located at 180 Brighton Avenue in Rochester, PA. He's open 11 to 7 Tuesday through Friday and Saturday 9 to 4. He's an old-fashioned barbershop, and every Tuesday he does $5 off for military personnel, first responders, and nurses. Again, Teats Barbershop, 180 Brighton Avenue in Rochester, PA. So, Tyler, you had the first overall pick. There's 2 Tylers. Tyler Weeks, you had the first overall pick.
Just call me Beefy.
Okay.
It's easier.
All right.
Make it easy.
Beefy.
Yeah.
Beefy, you had the first overall pick. Go ahead and tell us about that selection.
I felt like it was a very easy one based off last year's performance. Went with Christian McCaffrey. He was the Panthers' pretty much all of their offense, and with the element that he brings in the passing game as well as the running game, he just stacks up points. So it was a very easy pick. I mean, I made it like as soon as I saw I got the first pick. Anyway, didn't even know the show started.
Yeah.
I don't think any
Okay.
of us did.
So pick 2, that was the other Tyler, correct?
Correct.
Correct. And you go with Saquon Barkley. So tell us about that pick.
I mean, if he's healthy, it's a very similar situation to McCaffrey. He's the guy. You know, we don't know what Daniel Jones is going to bring. We don't know what their receiving core is going to be. We know if healthy, Saquon can do it all. So felt like an obvious pick there. As much as I love Kamara, I had him last year. It didn't go so well. So
Yeah, we talked about
Yeah.
Kamara a lot on the fantasy show here in the first couple of episodes because it's really just the touchdowns that were down. Yardage wise, pretty similar, but the touchdown production was down. So if that raises back up, you're looking at another guy once again that very well could go in the top 4 picks. Donnie, you had the number 3 pick.
Yeah, that's right around where you're going to see Michael Thomas start to go in drafts. I contemplated it, but I value running backs more than I value receivers. Zeke Elliott, obviously, I think he's in store for another great year. I think by Dak having a little bit more weapons in the passing aerial attack, that should open it up more for Zeke to have a few more catches. I think he had like 60 plus last year. Logan, can you double check me on that?
60 plus catches, really? Zeke?
I thought he did. Yeah, no, he catches the ball a lot. But no, I just think Zeke Elliott is another safe pick in fantasy this year. So I went with him.
Also, what's up with Logan not knowing off the top of his
54 last year.
Dude, he
Sorry.
always has numbers.
54. I'm about to run out of time. All right.
Okay, the next pick, King in the North. Well, first off, I love the name.
Of course.
Okay, but
How can I not?
tell us about your pick a little bit.
Yeah, I went Michael Thomas. I think a lot of people talked already about, kind of a little bit of concern with Kamara based on last season. I definitely was one of those who took him early in the first, was not thrilled with the results. Again, I'm going with the guy. I went receiver, probably not the great strategy to start out because running back's not as deep, but I mean, you can't go wrong with how uber productive Michael Thomas has been. So,
Especially if it's a PPR league.
Which if you're not in a PPR league, get out of that league and go to a PPR league. So, Okay, Ryan, you had the next pick.
Yeah, so it's kind of obvious. Alvin Kamara, PPR league. It's kind of a no-brainer. He was due for some regression in this past season, but you can't base future performance off past season either. He can go right back up to that 17 touchdown mark this season easily with all the workload he gets as long as he stays healthy.
Right, I 100% agree. Logan, you made the next pick.
Yeah. You get into the kind of the no man's land once those top 5 go. So I went with Julio over Dalvin Cook, who's not signed, Devontae Adams or Derrick Henry. It's just a preference thing at that point. I don't trust Henry. He's a 20 catch guy, and Dalvin Cook not being signed scares me off. So I just went with the best receiver.
Right. Okay, Nick, you were up next.
Yeah, I think it's a no-brainer. I think a lot of people are sleeping on Derrick Henry. Not like Ryan Tannehill, who's been for
Okay,
the duration
Nick.
of the season, especially deep into the playoffs. So I think they're really going to rely on Derrick Henry, and he's going to pay out for a lot of people in fantasy this year.
So that leads to the number 8 pick. Also, what the heck are we doing here? How do I get the last pick on my own show? What are we doing? You sure you didn't pick this order, Logan? What?
I would have got number 1 if that was the case.
Well, that would have been too obvious. You had to kind of make it look like you were,
Number
making
2.
it random. But okay. So yeah, for the reason I probably would have gone Dalvin Cook here if I strongly felt like he was going to. I mean, he has shown up at training camp, but who knows what's going on with that situation? I just don't like it. I like Dalvin Cook as a player and everything like that. But I want Nick Chubb here. I still feel like Cleveland's offense goes through him, even with all the weapons. I am a huge fan of Nick Chubb. I think he's one of the top 5 running backs in football. The only other person I considered here was Austin Eckler, who I think will be a beast in PPR formats, especially. But anyways, like I said, Nick Chubb's my guy. He has been since college, and I'm still riding that horse.
Hey, Smitty, you sure you took Nick Chubb?
Dog, you took Dalvin Cook.
You took Dalvin,
What?
buddy.
Yeah.
Run out before I hit select.
You also have 7 seconds to pick
Better
your
get
next
Nick
pick.
Chubb if you want him right now.
This is
Uh-oh.
3, 2, 1.
Meltdown.
Devontae Adams.
Oh, you got the box. Oh, no.
This show's in shambles already by the host.
So I
Steal.
took Dalvin Cook because I love the talent there with Dalvin Cook. What did it give me second?
Devontae
Devontae.
Adams.
Which I wouldn't have done.
Oh, my gosh.
So
Okay. Oh, man.
Hey, it just shows
So I'm
that not
guessing,
all drafts go your way.
the time must have run out as I was picking Nick Chubb.
So,
If you were in my position and you're listening back to this, go with Nick Chubb. Turn off auto pick. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. Okay, but PPR formats. I like Devontae Adams, but again, I was gonna try to go with the 0 receiver strategy that Donnie and I had kind of been talking about in our draft and not take one till like round 5. So I definitely would have gone with 2 running backs first, which was my plan. I was gonna go with Nick Chubb and Austin Eckler back to back, but that didn't happen here. And the lesson to be learned is, make sure you're getting your picks in time. If you're using, if you're online, you only got a minute.
That's rough, buddy.
It's funny because I said Nick Chubb and I took a look at Logan's face, and it was like, no, you didn't. And I was like, does he just not like the Nick Chubb pick, or what's going on here?
Yeah, I love Nick Chubb. So
I'll
much
try not
so.
to laugh.
Just kidding.
Because,
Who's up? Who's up right now?
Ryan.
Logan
Ryan.
just picked. It's
I
Ryan.
picked.
This is in shambles. Okay, Nick, you were after the great pick that I made of Devontae Adams. You went with Tyreek Hill. What was the reasoning there?
Opportunity and Patrick Mahomes. He's gonna get the deep ball. He's speedy, and all it takes is one good catch to change a week, and it could be the outcome of 20 points or 14 points. But I think he's gonna be in that range pretty week to week, and I like the upside. I mean, I know it's some games he kind of misses the mark, but he explodes for 40 points sometimes, and I'm willing to risk that, especially with the second round pick.
Hey, and we just found out Patrick Mahomes just learned how to read defenses. So, Tyreek Hill's only going to get better. No, but I love that pick. Logan goes right back to the Kansas City offense here with the next pick.
Yeah, I took Clyde Edwards-Helaire. It's pretty easy to see he's going to be the RB1 there. It's you have to kind of figure out whether he's going to get a Kareem Hunt role where it's 250 carries and 50 catches, or it might be scaled down a little bit. I think it's going to be scaled down closer to maybe 190 carries and then 50 catches, but I'll still take that knowing that he might have a double-digit touchdown season and 60 catches to go with it. So I take that over Nick Chubb, who might not see much receiving work, or Kenyon Drake, who might be an 8-game wonder.
Okay. No, I like it. Ryan, you made the next pick. You go Joe Mixon. What was the reasoning there?
So with last year, with the kind of emergence of Tyler Boyd kind of popping off, and then the income of AJ Green, hopefully on a healthy year this year, might take a little bit of pressure off the run game there, especially with Joe Burrow kind of joining the mix, especially in a PPR format. Joe Mixon's kind of a safe pick to get at least maybe a look at probably 7 to 10 targets a game, at least in the passing game, not along with 12 carries, 12, 15 carries. So.
Yeah, and you are the first one to go running back, which was what I was hoping to do. But I like the strategy there. So next, Jake, you go Austin Eckler. He doesn't end up on my team. He ends up on Jake's team here. What's the thought process there?
Yeah, I mean, like we've been talking about PPR. I mean, Austin Eckler, good chance he gets a heavy dose of receiving targets again this year. We'll see how that running back situation shakes out. I mean, there's a lot of unknowns behind him, and in an offense where you have Tyrod Taylor or Justin Herbert all season long, there can be a lot of opportunities for Eckler to make some noise. And yeah, I like that at this stage.
Donnie, are you kidding me with this pick or?
Yeah, I just couldn't believe he was available, so I had to stack the tail end of the second round. I wasn't sure if he was going to be there on the turn whenever I picked again early in the third round. Fantasy Pros let me know that there was an 80% chance that he would have been there, but that's all good. But no, Nick Chubb, like you said, one of the best running backs in football. Kareem Hunt being there doesn't necessarily scare me, just in terms of his touches, as Kareem Hunt mostly takes the pass catching work there in Cleveland. But no, I mean, he's super productive. He gets a lot of the carries. And if we think Cleveland's offense is going to take another step up, that should only benefit Chubb this year.
Did Fantasy Pros tell you that this guy was taken already?
No.
Okay. All right. So the first tight end comes off the board. Next pick, Tyler Hurnley. You go Travis Kelce. What's the thought process there?
It's already been said, Patrick Mahomes. I mean, and how many elite tight ends are there really? If he's out there, you got to go get your guy. And at this point, that was him. So.
Yeah, when Donnie and I keep going back to it, but the zero receiver strategy that we were doing every time that I was, doing a mock draft, going zero receiver, I was trying to get Kittle or Kelce in round 2. So yeah, I mean, I love that pick. And Tyler Weeks, Beefy, follows it up going DeAndre Hopkins, his new home in Arizona. Would you have still taken him in Houston's offense? Or you just like the combination of him and Kyler?
Yeah, I was really looking at him and Kyler, because I'm a huge fan of Kyler Murray, and I think that Arizona's offense is going to be pretty good this year. And I think that Nook is going to be a big part of that. So that's why I took him. And then my next pick, I went back to running back, and I took Josh Jacobs. I really like him out of, Vegas now. I was about to say Oakland. Mm-hmm. But I had him last year. I think he had 1,150 yards, and he missed 3 games. So I think he'll be able to add on to that total. He's not huge in the passing game, but what he brings in the rushing game is very valuable. So I like him a lot.
I think his receiving will also be elevated as well this year. I mean, maybe I'm really not thinking. There's nothing that's making me think that. I don't know why I'm thinking that. Just a hunch, I guess, that his work in the receiving game will increase. Next pick, we are back at Tyler Hurnley. You go Aaron Jones, a name that anywhere from early, mid-second, late second. He goes here early third. What's your thought process there taking Aaron Jones?
he's always been, when he actually sees the field and touches the ball, he actually has proven that he can do it. Like, he scores touchdowns, he can catch, he obviously can run. Take another, and Aaron Rodgers isn't what he used to be, but he can still do it, and it's a good check down option for him. So figured I'd, and especially in a PPR league, get some points that way. So
Right. Does that help? That might even help him more, though. If Aaron Rodgers is
That's true.
looking to check down as opposed to stretching the field, Jake might be able to weigh in on that more
There's
than
your
I
guy.
can. But
maybe Jordan Love will take over for Rodgers at some point, but
yeah,
Next year.
facts. Donnie, you take Chris Godwin, the breakout receiver in Tampa Bay. New quarterback there. What do you expect from Chris Godwin?
Yeah, we'll see. I'm not super high on Mike Evans, and I think me and Logan were talking about this a couple of weeks ago. Excuse me. Chris Godwin is probably one of the best slot receivers in the game. Tom Brady likes to utilize his slot receivers a lot. I don't expect a whole lot of regression from Chris Godwin as opposed to a guy like Mike Evans. I went running back, rounds 1 and 2. I wanted to snag a receiver there. Quarterback's nowhere in my mind at the tail end of round 2, at the beginning of round 3. So it was between Chris Godwin and Allen Robinson for me, and I just feel like Godwin probably gives me a little bit more of a safer upside in hoping that Brady continues to utilize his slot receivers.
Right. Okay. Jake, you take the second tight end off the board in George Kittle. Thought process there.
Yeah, I mean, having a running back and receiver already in, I didn't love what I saw at this point in the running back room at the top, especially just a lot of question marks with a few guys there. So I just, take a sure thing, get an elite tight end. And, like if you have Kittle or Kelsey, you can own the tight end position, win matchups a lot of weeks. So.
Right. Okay. I am making my pick right now, and I don't want to miss it. So if somebody knows who was next, it's Kenny Galladay to Ryan. Yeah, Ryan, if you want to talk about that pick.
So first of all, Kenny Galladay already went through the COVID protocol, so he might have the antibodies in here. So we might not have to worry about him being out at all. On top of that, he's a stud wide receiver, along with Matthew Stafford coming back, who last year was on pace to throw near 35, 40 touchdowns and 5,000 yards. So hopefully he can replicate that performance next year and they'll pay off.
Okay. Logan, Kenyon Drake.
End of third round to get a guy who's being drafted probably mid-second round, which is why we're doing an 8-man draft. But RB2, his upside's there. He got a lot of opportunities in the 8 games after Arizona traded for him. And if they're going to put an $8 million tag on him, you think he's going to see the rock, even if it's only for 1 year. So as an RB2, I'm totally comfortable with it. Receivers 2 is deep enough to pass on again. And the 2 tight ends are gone. So went RB2.
Okay. And we do see a quarterback go here. Patrick Mahomes. Nick, what's the thought process there?
86, sorry.
Oh, you're up right now as well.
Oh boy.
There we go.
We don't want to see an auto pick
There it
here.
is.
All right,
There it
yeah.
is. Got it.
I'm good.
Got it.
Patrick Mahomes. That's it. That's my analysis.
That's the
So you
tweet.
got him and Tyreek.
Yeah, I like to stack them too. I like to stack quarterbacks and wide receivers. They could really have big games, especially those two. But then you got to find a bye week for them too. So it's really kind of risk versus reward. But I'm trying to get the playoffs, and I think those two are going to produce off the Super Bowl. So.
All right, okay. I have back-to-back picks here. I went Chris Carson and Adam Thielen. I actually did make these picks for myself. Chris Carson, I think, is right around the top 10 running back. The only concern that I have is he's been a little bit banged up each year. He hasn't gotten through 16 games, but I really like him when he's on the field. They do have some more weapons in that passing game. Whether they add Antonio Brown or not, I'm not saying they will. But even without him, the emergence of DK Metcalf last year, you expect him to take another leap this year. Tyler Lockett's an underrated receiver in this league. So there we go. And then apparently I'm just a huge fan of the NFC North. I think my third player out of 4 picks from the NFC North and Adam Thielen with Stephon Diggs gone. There's one less mouth to feed. I do like the addition of Justin Jefferson for that offense, but with this weird offseason, we'll see how quickly he can get acclimated. I think it's going to be the Adam Thielen show in that passing game. They are a run-first offense, but still when it comes to the way that they throw the ball, I think that Adam Thielen will be, the top target, and I think that should go without saying regardless. So then we come back to Nick. You make another pick here, Leonard Fournette.
Leonard Fournette, he's going to get volume. Like I said before, big on opportunity. He's going to get opportunity and no Gardner Minshew. So I think they're going to run the ball a lot. So
Okay. Logan, you follow that up with Pittsburgh's Juju Smith-Schuster.
Yeah.
wow.
If Ben plays, they're going to throw the ball, and they throw the ball a lot. So Deontay might break out and probably will break out. But if Juju sees anything close to what he did 2 years ago, then as a number 2 receiver, I'll take it all day.
Right. Okay, so then we got Allen Robinson coming off the board to Ryan.
That pick is solely based off the fact that I love Allen Robinson and his just skill level overall. He's been put in a kind of bad situation most of his career, and hopefully they find something with Nick Foles this year that can kind of reignite that.
Right. Okay. DJ Moore off the board, Jake.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, PPR league, I expect a Joe Brady offense to feature a lot of quick game, and I think DJ Moore can win in that way, and as well vertically. I think being a 3-level threat in a Joe Brady offense is going to yield a lot of production. So I'm excited for DJ Moore.
Yeah, you know what? I actually considered him where I took Thielen. So to see him, go that many picks later, I really like the pick there. Huge fan of DJ Moore. With what you said, though, I think that's also beneficial to a guy like Curtis Samuel. Maybe catching even some screen passes. But, yeah, I love the DJ Moore pick. We got another quarterback off the board here. Donnie, I don't know if you were allowed to make this pick, but you did.
Yeah, and what's funny is that whenever we did the show and we talked about drafting quarterbacks, I was definitely against drafting quarterbacks early. But, I wasn't really crazy about the receiver selection there. Wanted to double up there. Allen Robinson went. I wasn't crazy about DJ Moore, and I didn't want to double stack Mike Evans on my fantasy lineup as well. I just went Lamar Jackson. He's basically running back at the quarterback position. I'm sure he's due for some kind of regression, but kind of like Nick's thinking with Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill. There's going to be weeks where he's going to put up 40 points a game, and that's going to win me some games. So I like that, and I'm hoping to snag somebody here at the beginning of round 5. So we'll see.
I'm going to clip that part. Sorry. No, I'm just saying, Donnie, I'm going to clip that part where you said he's a running back.
Yeah, please do.
Please do.
And send it to Richie first off, but also play it every single.
You can't.
Send it to Lamar.
He's sleeping.
True. Thanks. Okay, but yeah, Nick, what were you about to say?
My thought process for quarterbacks and tight ends, when there's only 3 elite ones, I think, in each class. So you got Travis Kelce, George Kittle, and Zach Ertz. Once those 3 go, just ignore it and go straight to the flex position. And same with quarterback. If you don't get Russell Wilson, Patrick Mahomes, or Lamar Jackson, then just continue to draft flex, I think.
Yeah,
because there's going to be more value later in the draft.
I agree. Okay, Tyler Hurnley, you go Tyler Lockett here.
Correct. He's underrated every year. He has Russell Wilson as his quarterback. They have a connection that seems to be unmatched. Everybody looks at DK Metcalf, and for good reason. He's obviously a physical specimen, but Lockett and Russ have that connection that you can't take away regardless of who else is on the other side of the field. So
I think in a way, the emergence of DK Metcalf will pay dividends for Tyler Lockett. Nobody's going to be able to double team him. He's going to take attention away. And I think that that's a good thing for all parties. So, I really like the pick. I like Tyler Lockett as a player. Now, Beefy, you make 2 picks in a row here. And speaking of tight ends, you take another one off the board with your second pick. But you go receiver here first.
I do. I went with Amari Cooper. I've always been a big Amari Cooper guy. And I think he really transformed his game again whenever he went to Dallas, because towards the end in Oakland, he was just in a bad situation.
Yeah.
But once he went to Dallas, it really changed the way he played and changed the stats he was getting. I mean, last year he had, I think, almost 1,200 yards. So I think he could add on to that. And he's a true number 1 in Dallas, which I like that a lot. And even though I'm not a huge Dak guy, I think Dak is able to.
At Logan.
I'm not a huge Dak guy, but I think they have enough of a connection that it works out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if Logan wants to give his input on that pick at all, because where Amari is on these boards, I understand that I really like Michael Gallup, and you have CeeDee Lamb coming into that offense as well, who you would expect to take some targets away. But like you said, the connection that Dak and Amari have had. Amari was has been a wide receiver one for fantasy purposes since being there in Dallas. So I think as where we're at on the board right now, the only other guys that I would possibly consider there is, and you'd be banking on the health of Odell Beckham Jr. Or we mentioned Mike Evans, but who knows what that connection with Tom Brady's will be. So I have no problem with that pick. Zach Ertz, we kind of talked about the tight ends. He's kind of in that elite tier where if you don't get one of those guys, it makes more sense to wait. So I like that pick as well. But yeah, Logan, real quick, if you want to say anything about the Amari Cooper pick.
I think Amari's, I don't think the targets are ever going to be an issue, even having so many weapons. But in terms of fantasy, his injury bugs worry me. He's always playing the games, but he's never fully healthy. So in terms of fantasy, unless it's obviously a crazy value, I'm probably going to wait on Michael Gallup closer to round 9 or 10 than take Amari in round 4 or 5. But at the same time, it's not a bad pick because Dallas is going to throw the ball and they're going to throw it well. So it really is just all about preference at that point.
Yeah. Dang it. Sorry, Logan just took the guy that I was planning to take here coming back. But moving along, we have our first Washington football team player taken. Tyler Hernley, you take Terry McLaurin. Love the pick. Why'd you do it?
Well, I live near DC. I see a lot of, former Redskins games. And he was fantastic last year. He's the best receiver on the team, especially with Kelvin Harmon getting hurt. He and Haskins have a connection. Again, same sort of thing. It's like we know how good he can be, but Haskins has that connection with him, not only from being there last year, but from Ohio State. So now he's going to have, sure, it's a full weird offseason, but it's still a full offseason with the team. Again, he has that connection with Haskins that they don't need quite as much work together. And we saw what he can do regardless of who's playing quarterback. So he's their best receiving option by far, and his quarterback knows him and trusts him. So I think he's going to have another breakout year. He's obviously one of the ones mentioned outside of that. Deontay isn't, but he's always on those lists. So, and a lot of the other players like Evans and those guys. Evans, again, we've talked about that. Some of the other guys have other receivers with him. 2 Rams receivers. I don't trust Jared Goff at all based on last year. So just felt like that was the pick there.
Okay.
Plus, Beefy took Amari, so that was the other option for me really there.
Yeah.
So couldn't do that.
Donnie, Odell Beckham Jr., I just mentioned him. Why'd you take him?
Yeah, I really wanted to take Todd Gurley there. I think I'm kind of kicking myself for not putting Todd Gurley in my flex. I really like Gurley and his opportunities in Atlanta this year. But no, just talk about Odell. I feel like if I'm going to speak on Nick Chubb and potentially the Browns offense taking the next step in 2020, I have to believe that Odell Beckham is going to do so as well. We know he was hurt last year. We know he struggled. But we also know whenever he's healthy, he's one of the best receivers in football. I think the targets will be there for him this year, even though Jarvis Landry is still probably going to be the top go-getter there. But no, I just really like Odell's upside. I mean, we saw very few flashes of it in 2019. So I'm just hoping 2019 was just a case of him being hurt.
Okay. Jake, Mike Evans, the other receiver in Tampa Bay, which, just over a year ago, it'd be kind of wild to say that Chris Godwin's going to go, 2 rounds in front of him, but that's what happened here. You take Mike Evans off the board finally. What's the thought process?
Yeah, I mean, I think there will be a drop. I mean, in targets and potentially, touchdowns for Mike Evans this year with Brady, but I don't think you're going to see the severe drop off where he won't be, enough to provide you a wide receiver 2, or in this case for me, a flex appeal. So I'm going to just, just bank on the fact, he's an elite receiver, and Tom's going to get him the football as much as he can. And yeah, I'm banking a lot on NFC South wide receivers. Just realized, so it's a good division.
That's I'm just filling up on players in the NFC North apparently. But okay, Ryan, Todd Gurley's off the board here. Why is he off the board?
So speaking from perspective of an 8-man draft, having Todd Gurley as your flex option is kind of unbeatable in the sense of amount of vacated targets that are going to be there in Atlanta. It does worry everybody with the fact that like his knee and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, he's still like an elite running back and a touchdown machine. He didn't reach 1,000 rushing yards last year, but I mean, he can definitely do it in Atlanta with all the time he's had to get healthy.
Okay. Cooper Kupp. I'm so mad about this because this is the guy I was targeting coming back here. But Logan, you take Cooper Kupp off the board. He finishes a top 5 wide receiver last year in PPR, as Donnie and I talked about. So, I mean, you can tell us why you took him, but that's right there on the surface.
Yeah, he's Jared Goff's little guy. He loves him. Towards the end of the year, they started going to tight end more, and he started playing less. But I think that was more to help the O-line run the ball more because they were throwing so much. I don't know if they're going to come back out with that. But with Cooks leaving, you have to assume even if they go more to tight end, he's still going to be on the field for 80% plus of the snaps compared to I think he got down to 50 towards the end of the year there. But maybe that's because they're out of the playoffs and they don't want him to get hurt again. But you just assume he's going to play more. He's good for probably 8 to 10 targets a game. Easy.
Right. Well, I love the pick, as I mentioned.
Thank you.
Nick, you go James Conner here. What's the thought process?
I just always like him. He's done well for me in the past. Can't really go wrong with him. Like he just picked up in Le'Veon's shoes and kind of ran with it. So he beat cancer, and that's really inspirational to me. I like a guy with a lot of grit. So
Grit.
Yeah, that's why I picked him.
Yeah, it's going to be, I mean, where you're taking him here, I really like it. I mean, he's your third running back.
Oh yeah, I love to go running back heavy, so I'll take if I have James Conner on the bench, I'm happy.
Right. Yeah, and I don't know that we'll see, the 2018 James Conner again. I think that Pittsburgh, obviously being in Pittsburgh, we can give you some perspective on that. I think the plan is to kind of spread out the running back touches more. They added Anthony McFarland in the draft.
He can catch the ball too.
Came on the scene. Yes, yeah. But James Conner is a guy that can kind of do it all out of the backfield. So even though they might be taking some touches away, when he is on the field, you can expect him to do a little bit of everything. So I really like the pick. It comes back to me. I was kind of in a time crunch here. I realized it was my pick when there was about 8 seconds left. But I knew I wanted to go running back anyway. I go Miles Sanders here in Philadelphia. Obviously, he was a rookie last year, still had a decent season. But I think that he's in for a big year in Philly. Carson Wentz, we know about, the lack of weapons there. And yes, they did add Jalen Reagor, John Hightower, and they have the tight ends that they do. But I really think that they would benefit more from getting the ball to the guy in the backfield and Miles Sanders and letting him do work. Donnie, you're a Penn State guy. I don't know how you feel about this pick personally, but I really like Miles Sanders. And again, that's my third running back. So he's either going to play flex, or if I decide to go 3 receivers that week, he'll be on my bench.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm not too keen on any Philadelphia Eagle running back. I've been burned by them in the past, so I stay away. Sanders is talented for sure, undoubtedly, and a lot of people are expecting him to do big things this year. I mean, like Logan said, you're seeing him go about middle of the second round in a lot of mock drafts.
Yeah, and my other pick here, I went Calvin Ridley. Ryan kind of mentioned the vacated targets in Atlanta. We saw Austin Hooper go to Cleveland. They did bring in Hayden Hurst, who they feel like can kind of play in a similar role. We'll see how the production turns out there. But I'm a Calvin Ridley guy. I think this is the year that he really turns his play up a notch. He's been, a wide receiver 1 when Julio's out of the lineup. So I really like Calvin Ridley, and I think this is the year that he takes that leap. And again, he's my third wide receiver. I already have Devontae Adams and Adam Thielen. So this is a guy, maybe I play in my flex or he's on my bench. We'll see, depending week to week. But I really like this pick here. Comes back to Nick, and he goes with another running back, Melvin Gordon here.
Running backs get hurt, guys. So I like to go running back heavy, and I like the new contract, new change of scenery. So I like Melvin Gordon. He can do it all, kind of like James Conner.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how they divvy up the touches there, between him and Phillip Lindsay.
Oh, I fully intend to and encourage people to get Phillip Lindsay as a handcuff too, if you're going this way.
Okay. Logan, you take is this the 4th tight end? Yeah, 4th tight end off the board, and Mark Andrews of the Ravens.
Yeah, let me pick. Ryan sniped me, so I got thinking to do. Okay. Yeah, Mark Andrews. It's kind of a day by day thing for me. They don't throw the ball a ton, which is just always worries me. But when they do throw it, usually goes his way. So it just all depends on what's available. I didn't really like everything else. My team's filled out, so I felt like going tight end would be safe.
Yeah, and I know, people are expecting the emergence of Hollywood Brown this year in that Ravens offense and their passing attack. But, Lamar in the back of his head is always going to remember that safety blanket of Mark Andrews that helped him have the year that he did throwing the ball. So I still think that that passing game is going to go through Mark Andrews.
Yeah. I know they create a metric. It's yards per route. And I think he broke the record for it this past season, or he's second now all time behind George Kittle. So that's kind of where you can kind of look to find good tight ends.
Yeah. Okay. The next pick would have been, sorry, I was making my two selections here. Would have been Dak Prescott to Ryan.
There's no shortage of weapons in Dallas by any sense of the word with CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, Amari Cooper, Zeke. There's just so much opportunity for him to have another stellar year like he did last season. Blake Jarwin, that's fine. Whatever you want to talk about. You bring Jason Witten back for all I care.
No.
He's in Las Vegas, baby.
I mean, the touchdowns, 30 touchdowns he threw last year and almost had a 5,000-yard season. I think that's easily replicatable this year with his targets that he gained with CeeDee Lamb as well. So,
okay. Back-to-back quarterbacks. Jake, you go Russell Wilson.
Yeah, 8-man league here. I mean, going to fill it out here, get an elite quarterback in the building. What can you say about Russ? I mean, again, get a lot of weapons there with Lockett and Metcalf. We're going to get a lot of targets, vertical offense, likes to push it downfield. Seattle's always in close games, so he'll be throwing at the end. I mean, you're going to get some production on the ground as well from him because his offensive line's bad and he needs to escape. So,
Yeah. Okay. AJ Brown, Donnie.
Yeah, so I was thinking about taking either Le'Veon or David Johnson there.
But you didn't. So
I need to fill out my flex spot, and I just feel like AJ Brown had a phenomenal season. We'll see if Ryan Tannehill can replicate what he did last year. But I mean, there's no doubting whenever Ryan Tannehill's on, AJ Brown's that dude in Tennessee, and he produced phenomenally last year. So I think having him in my flex spot and being able to rotate him with my other pick that we'll talk about whenever it's my turn next, I think that'll give me a solid few options when it comes to putting my fantasy lineup together week to week.
Right. Okay. Tyler Hurnley, you took your quarterback, Kyler Murray. Why'd you do it?
Well, Jake took my guy anyway because I was trying to stack with Lockett and Russ. But anyway, I mean, you had DeAndre Hopkins. You have a big weapon there. Not to mention what he can get with his legs. We know that. Plus a second-year leap from rookie to now. I would expect better numbers, especially considering the weapon he just gained. You can't go wrong there.
Yeah, that was who I was honestly hoping to have as my guy at quarterback. So I love the pick. Tyler, you take our old guy here, Le'Veon Bell.
I did. I was looking for another running back, and I forget who else was available when I picked him. But I mean, even though he didn't have a Le'Veon Bell type year with the Jets last year, I think he'll improve off of it. And I mean, right now he's in my flex position. So with his production at a flex, I feel like that wouldn't be a bad option. And then my next pick was Keenan Allen. I've always been a huge fan of Keenan Allen. I feel like he's a very underrated wide receiver in the NFL. And whether they go with Tyrod or if they end up going with Justin Herbert, whoever they have, I feel like he'll still get his touches and still get his reps. So I think he's a good option.
Yeah, I mean, Donnie and I were talking about Keenan Allen, that short to intermediate routes, which, whether it be Tyrod, Justin Herbert has the arm, but, year one, I don't know if they're going to let him sling it like that if he does play. So say it is Tyrod Taylor, you would think that, that short to intermediate routes, which Keenan Allen feasts on, that's going to be the bread and butter for that offense. So I really like that pick there. Yeah, and then next pick, Tyler, you come back and you take DJ Chark. Love that pick too.
I mean, he is the option in Jacksonville. So I had him last year on my extremely weird league. He and he served me pretty well. He scored a couple times, which was the main point of anything with that, yards being 50 yards a point. Anyway, so he did a lot of good things for me last year, and with him really being the option, even outside of Fournette can run the ball, but outside of that, who's catching it? So,
right.
Whether you believe in Minshew is another story, but he is the guy catching the ball there. So,
right. Donnie, you took your third running back finally. I feel like you've been talking about it for a couple rounds, but ended up not doing it. So finally, David Johnson.
Yeah, as you know, I'm all talk whenever it comes to fantasy, and I'm kind of wishy-washy on players, but I think opportunity is almost everything in fantasy football, and David Johnson's going to have a lot of that in Houston going this year. Houston gave 400 touches last year, and I suggest David Johnson's probably going to hit about half of that if everything goes his way. DeAndre Hopkins isn't there, so I know a lot of people have concerns about David Johnson just not playing like a complete piece of ass. But maybe a change of scenery will help. I've always believed in David Johnson, even whenever he was shitty in his Arizona Cardinal days. Having him as a option on my bench, I really like. So.
Yeah, I've been screwed over by David Johnson the year that he dislocated his wrist week one.
Yep.
He was my second overall pick, but
I picked him first.
there. Yeah, that's tough.
Rough.
But brand new team. We'll see how he fares in Houston. Put the trade aside. That doesn't really mean much in terms of this. We'll see what David Johnson can do there in Houston. Next pick, Jake, you go Jonathan Taylor, rookie year in Indianapolis.
Yeah, why not? Again, I think it's very clear that Indy is maybe not from the outside and as much in the national media, but I think they're going to shift to a lot of run first philosophy. I really do. I mean, signing Roosevelt Nix, who I think will stay on the roster. I really think drafting Jonathan Taylor that high, especially with Ballard, who again got Mack in the 6th, doesn't value it as much. They're going to give him a lot of touches this year. If it's early down work for the most part, that's fine. I still believe in him to produce in this offense, especially with that line. I mean, he's going from Wisconsin to Indy's offensive line. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I think the questions with Jonathan Taylor are just about durability because of how many touches he had in college. But year one, that's not going to be a concern. So I really like this pick here. Moving on, Ryan, Robert Woods of the Rams.
Yeah, so I mean, with Brandon Cooks gone, that's going to eliminate a good 70 to 80 targets that are going to be vacated, probably split between mostly Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods. Cooper Kupp took the dominant role last year, but I think honestly Robert Woods can come back with a lot of those extra targets that might be coming his way. He had only like 2 touchdowns last year, so I mean, I don't think he's due for any regression, hopefully, and hopefully Jared Goff has a bounce back year. It's maybe comeback player of the year. Who knows?
Okay. Are you throwing out a prediction right there?
That's a little soft hot take.
Okay. Okay. So Logan, Kareem Hunt.
Yeah, I got sniped. I wanted Woods.
It's happened a couple times.
Yeah. So I don't love the running backs at this point. It's really, really shallow. So I just went with the guy who I think can get the most receiving work. And I feel like that's Hunt. Cleveland doesn't really have a third wide receiver. So if Hunt can fill in that role anyway, I'll take it for a 7th round back.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Nick, T.Y. Hilton.
I don't care. He's old. Phillip Rivers is going to throw the ball eventually. It may not be to the down by 4th quarter on a Sunday afternoon every week in San Diego quality, but I think he's going to get a lot of receptions and touchdowns will translate. So I do believe in T.Y. Hilton.
Okay. That brings us to me, and I took my tight end, Darren Waller, and Josh Allen, my quarterback, back-to-back. Darren Waller playing for the Las Vegas Raiders. I think this is a guy that's, right there in the top 5 tight ends, right around that range. The ability has been there. Finally, he put it all together, stayed out of trouble off the field. And, the passing game for the Raiders was going through Darren Waller last year. Now they added Henry Ruggs, which will obviously, be a huge part of that offense, they hope, with the speed element that he brings. But I still really like Darren Waller here, especially when he gets down into the red zone. I think that he could potentially push for double-digit touchdowns this year. Obviously, depending on the play of his quarterback, and who knows, maybe we could see a change there at the helm. They brought in Marcus Mariota to be the backup. Derek Carr is apparently, really fired up about the way that the media is talking about him. So we'll see what he's able to do this year. But I really like Darren Waller regardless. And Josh Allen, my quarterback, you can say what you want about him, as far as the accuracy issues and his actual football play. But from a fantasy perspective, I really like him. We talked about, quarterbacks that add points on the ground. And Josh Allen is one of those guys. Yeah, I might have been right the first time. That add value on the ground, and Josh Allen is another one of those guys. An athletic guy, gets out of the pocket, he'll run for 50+ yards a game. So from a fantasy perspective, Beefy here can attest to it. He was his quarterback for his championship team last year. So I don't think that Josh Allen is by any means a bad fantasy football quarterback, regardless of what you think about him from a real life perspective. And then going back to Nick, you
fullback 8th round.
What's that?
I didn't know we were drafting fullbacks.
Fallbacks?
Fullbacks.
Oh, fullbacks. Yeah, I had to get one here. No, but right after this, Nick takes his new top weapon in Stephon Diggs.
Yeah, I don't care what people.
You're picking right now. So
what's that?
I believe you're picking right now. So I was just saying, if you wanted to wait to talk.
Yeah. Let me get a pick in.
I didn't even mention that with Josh Allen though. That plays into it as well.
Yeah, Mr. 99 throw power himself.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Richie's awake, if anyone was wondering.
Thanks, Richie. Great time. Get him in here. I'm about to make him join the Zoom.
Just for the heck of it.
Okay, I'm sorry. I got my pick in.
Yeah, it's fine.
All right. Who are we talking about?
Stephon Diggs.
Stephon Diggs, another deep threat guy. Obviously on a lower level than Tyreek Hill, but I think he's still due for monster games, and Josh Allen likes to chuck the pigskin, so I'm all for it.
I have Josh Allen, so I love the pick. Okay, so Logan, we've been talking about DK Metcalf before he was even taken. You finally took him, so.
I did. He's good. Didn't love the options.
Worried about 3-tone?
I didn't love the options. It was between him and Cortland Sutton. I'm not huge on both. So I just went with the guy who's big and has a good quarterback.
Okay.
Sometimes it's simple.
Yeah. Especially when you're talking about, what is this, your 4th receiver? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay. Who was up next?
Ryan.
My thing just refreshed on me. So, yeah, Ryan, you were up next.
Yeah, I don't know why I don't know if it's down on Mark Ingram this year. He just came off a 15 touchdown season, 7 of which were ran in by Lamar Jackson. So, there might be a little bit of regression there in a sense, but honestly, defenses might be focusing a little bit more on Lamar Jackson and might open up a little bit more room for Mark Ingram to work in the backfield. Maybe even get him out to the side, catch a few extra passes this year that he didn't get last year. Overall, just having him as my 5th running back on the depth chart and still having a starting running back in the system is beautiful to have on your roster.
Yeah, I think that, the addition of J.K. Dobbins to the Ravens potentially is playing into the outlook for most people there. But, yeah, like you mentioned, it's your 5th running back, so I still like the pick. He's still going to get his touches, like you mentioned, just coming off a 15-touchdown season. So you're not going to see that big of a drop-off where it doesn't warrant.
Even if he brings up 10, 10 for a 5th running back that's sitting on your bench most of the season is a good deal.
Right. Okay, Jake, you go Cortland Sutton here, who I am a fan of, at least from a real-life perspective. But he's on your fantasy team. Why'd you take him?
At this point, having 3 receivers already in the building, getting a 4th might as well just make it some upside and potential. From that offense, it's adding a lot of weapons. Obviously, they're going to believe in Drew Lock. But, yeah, I believe that of the three, I think Locke's going to trust Sutton a lot more. Got some reps with him last season, and so obviously with this weird off season, not as much with the rooks. So if that offense does cook, I think Sutton's going to be the main focus. So
Right. Okay. You guys had been talking about how weird the Fantasy Pro site had been for you guys, and I wasn't having trouble. All of a sudden, it's like pick by pick replacing each pick. So I know, Donnie, you were up, but I have
Yeah.
no idea who the pick was here.
I went Evan Ingram.
Okay. Okay, it showed up now.
I
Bam,
feel
Evan
like-
Ingram.
I feel like I needed to address the tight end position at some point. Evan Ingram, for me, on his very best days, probably like high tier 2 in terms of what he's able to produce. Daniel Jones going into his second year. Evan Ingram's just one of those guys where he's athletic enough to be spread out as a wide receiver at the tight end position. So I'm really hoping that Daniel Jones can lean a little bit more on Ingram. And I'm hoping Ingram can stay healthy for the most part going into 2020 as well. So I think at minimum the targets will be there for him, and that's kind of what you have to bank on when you get to this point in the draft.
Got it. Okay. While we were talking about this guy a lot last year, he kind of disappointed. David Montgomery here, Tyler. It's a guy that, like I said, Donnie and I were very high on last year. It kind of didn't pan out great for him, but year 2, are we expecting bigger things? Also, Tyler, you're muted right now.
Sorry, had kids in here. Anyway, it auto drafted because I couldn't figure out who I wanted.
Oh, so you went with the Smitty approach for this pick.
No, not on purpose. But I was trying to look through it, and I do like him, so I do expect a better year out of him this year. Obviously, Cohen's there taking away a lot of the receiving targets, but he can do it. So I'm just hoping for a bigger year out of him. He's on my bench, so
I think Donnie and I are
expecting
expecting a bigger year from him too in Chicago, but we'll see who's even going to be under center. We don't know. So
that's true. Could be Foles. Could be.
But for Beefy's team here, we know who's under center now. Deshaun Watson's the pick.
Yeah, I had to take a quarterback eventually, and for the ones that is left, he was my favorite one.
Yeah.
Even though I'm not thrilled about the receiving core in Houston. I think it's pretty mediocre, but I still think that he'll be able to move around the ball, and with his legs, he will put up numbers that way too. So that's why I went with him quarterback. Who was my second pick? DeAndre Swift.
Yeah.
Okay. So I wanted another running back, just because running backs gets hurts. And even though we haven't seen DeAndre Swift in the NFL, I'm really excited to see him in Detroit because he was a beast in college, and I think he's just going to be their feature back. Mainly, they have Kerryon Johnson, but I really think they just want DeAndre Swift to be their guy. So
they spent a second-round pick on a running back, so you'd think that he's going to get his touches. But
yeah,
the problem there is I'm excited for DeAndre Swift too, but he's in Detroit, so we'll see how that goes because their history of running backs. I was excited for Kerryon Johnson as well, and that really hasn't panned out all that great. A lot of that due to injuries, but that's neither here nor there. DeAndre Swift was a player, though, I really do like. It'll be interesting to see how it works out in Detroit. Devontae Parker here, Tyler Hernley. I'm not too sure how Michael Thomas will feel about it, but I like the pick.
He was the best player on the board. I need another receiver. I'm looking forward to seeing what Tua can do for him. And he had a good year last year with Fitzpatrick and whoever else. I don't even remember who else was throwing the ball for them, but
Josh Rosen.
He had a good year for them. Yeah, true. Finally, he did something. It took him a while, but he broke out. So, looking forward to seeing what Tua can do for him with that. So, best option available.
Donnie, AJ Green's coming back this year, and you took him.
Yeah, man, I had to throw the dice. We're getting to that part of the draft where you're filling out your starters and you're kind of essentially kind of throwing darts at the board, trying to see if something will stick. AJ Green, when healthy, I think we can all agree is one of the best receivers in the game. He has rookie Joe Burrow coming into the picture, and if Joe Burrow is half as good as everybody thinks he'll be, then I think AJ Green will be all right. Devontae Parker, I was looking at him, I really wanted him, but he got slammed right in front of me. I thought about taking forgot his name, blanked me, the other receiver in Cincinnati.
Tyler Boyd.
Tyler Boyd.
Oh boy.
He
Yeah,
went
I
like
thought
2 picks
about
later. Yeah.
yeah, I thought about taking him just because he's proven to stay healthy over the course of the years as opposed to AJ Green. But no, I just think if AJ Green can stay healthy, I think he'll be a really good value of where I got him.
I might have went with Tyler Boyd just because he went to the best university that's in Pennsylvania. But
Oh, Temple.
No, but I know that I've been saying that I like a lot of picks, but Jake, I really, really like Cam Akers here.
Yeah, me too. I mean, hey, the Rams are going to run the ball. There's no doubt about it. McVay loves a wide zone, outside zone looks. So I really am not a believer in Darrell Henderson. And for those who've followed my draft takes long enough, you know that. I mean, yeah, I really think Akers is going to take
John Kelly a shot.
Bulk of the work. Yeah, if Henderson couldn't get carries over Malcolm Brown last year, I'm not really worried about it. So yeah, I love Akers this year. I think there's a real chance that he sneaks into some RB2 territory, and so yeah, excited about that one.
And as Donnie just mentioned, the other receiver in Cincinnati, he goes just 2 picks later, Tyler Boyd.
Yeah, I mean, if Tyler Boyd when you're taking someone in the 9th round, that's still like this one of the stars of their lineup, along with an upgrade in quarterback, which I'm going to assume is an upgrade in quarterback after watching him in college. I mean, I saw what he did to Bama, and I don't ever want to see him again in college. So, I mean, I'm a firm believer in the Cincinnati offense this year. That's why I took Joe Mixon. I'm not afraid to take Tyler Boyd as well. Last year was a little bit of a down year. I mean, he still went for 1,000 yards and 90 receptions. So even if he replicates that, it's still a good value at 9th round.
Right. Logan, James White.
It's all about targets and catches. So I'll take another pass catching running back in the 9th round. I'd rather do that than take a shot on someone took Raheem Mostert 2 picks later, same guy who auto drafted on accident. So I'll take the guy who's going to catch the ball over maybe a potential backup running back.
Who was the next?
Smitty,
I don't
that's
even
you? Oh, sorry, Smitty.
All right. Well, I got nothing to say. I'll address that in 2 picks. Nick, you took Tyler Higbee here, tight end for the Rams.
Yeah, strictly a position filler. If he works out, great. Honestly, expecting to go to the waiver wire with this pick for a tight end. I'll go fishing for that. He's going to be blocking a lot for the Rams, and I don't expect much.
I love that analysis. Yeah, what is it about? I mean, I don't know if anybody else wants to weigh in on this. Why is Tyler Higbee shot up draft boards like this at the tight end position?
He won people leagues. That's it, probably.
Yeah, I know that he did
At the end of last year.
late in the year last year.
Got to be what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. He set records for tight end receptions or yards or both towards last 4 games. So it's a lot of just hype coming off that performance, even though Gerald Everett's going to come back healthy.
Yeah. Right. I mean, that was like the guy at that position last year. And then all of a sudden Tyler Higbee had a few nice weeks. And now here we are where he's like the number 7 or 8 tight end.
Right.
Okay. Well, Logan, you already brought up Raheem Mostert, who I took a couple picks after you took James White. If you really want to know, I was looking at James White here. But obviously he's off the board. So I take Raheem Mostert, who is staying now in San Francisco. He got that pay bump that he was looking for. Based off that, I am hoping that I know that San Francisco is kind of a running back carousel. You never know who's going to be the guy getting the touches, but I'm based off that. I'm hoping that he is the guy. You know, they did increase his pay. They didn't trade him. Shows me that they at least wanted to keep him around. I think that he will at least start as the lead back. Whether that stays the same, I don't know. But again, this is my 4th running back at this point. So I don't hate the pick there. And then Deontay Johnson's my next guy that I expect to break out in Pittsburgh this year with a healthy Big Ben back. I really like this pick. If we're talking about, value here, this is one of my favorite value picks that I've made. I'm a huge fan of Deontay Johnson in real life, obviously, but I think from a fantasy perspective, this is where he's going to break out. Coming back to Nick, Julian Edelman, new quarterback.
I don't care. He'll produce. I have faith. That's all I got.
Okay. Once again, Nick is bringing the analysis. He drafted a tight end just because why the hell not? And Julian Edelman, he doesn't care who his quarterback is, he's going to produce. I mean, to an extent, I agree. I mean, a guy that, does what he does in the slot, the quarterback doesn't really matter. But next pick, Logan, we talked about Michael Gallup, the value that you could get, rather take him in round 8 or 9 as opposed to Amari Cooper early, and you actually followed through with that and took him later here.
Right. I think you got to give a piece of a really good passing offense at some point, and to get the number 2 receiver who was step for step with Amari last year is just as good, especially 6 rounds later. So I'll take it.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, I was making a pick there. Okay, so Logan with Michael Gallup, and then comes back to Ryan, who takes the guy I just mentioned when I took Calvin Ridley and Hayden Hurst. How do we feel about that pick?
Hayden Hurst, I think, is going to be the sole beneficiary, one of the sole beneficiaries of Austin Hooper leaving and coming off a 100-target season. I mean, even if he receives near half those targets, or let's be serious, more around probably like the 60 to like 70 region, he's going to still provide those numbers. I mean, we haven't actually seen him truly for a full season and what he can do. So it's kind of more like a little bit of a lottery play on those targets that are vacated. But I still feel like he'll be, because I mean, honestly, the second in line in tight end is someone that I've never even heard of, who's only had 1 reception his entire career. So I think he's probably in pretty good line for some heavy workload.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we've been talking about him a lot on our fantasy show, Donnie and I, as a guy that, they want to come in there and replace the Austin Hooper production, and whether he does to the full extent or not, I don't know. But yeah, a guy that there's going to be ample opportunity for. So we're really going to see, was it just the Ravens system that was holding him back? We're going to find out. Jake, you go Will Fuller here.
We are sending it with upside. That's pretty much all I got. It hurt a lot, but when he's on the field, he makes big plays. Had some huge weeks last season. Obviously, vacated targets with Hopkins gone. I know Cooks is coming in, but you never know how that's going to shake out, especially with, again, Cooks had limited work-off season here with the Texans. So, Watson trusts Fuller when he's on the field, so why not bang on some upside?
Yeah, they also signed Randall Cobb, and it's like you take a look at that receiver room. There's not really like an alpha, there's not a number 1 receiver, but if there is one and you're based on potential, Will Fuller would be the guy out of that room that I would pick. So yeah, I don't mind the pick here again. Hopefully he can stay healthy, but who's going to be Deshaun Watson's guy? It's kind of up in the air, and Will Fuller has the opportunity to become that guy this year with DeAndre Hopkins gone. So, Donnie, I don't know what you're doing here with the Cleveland Browns receiver room.
Yeah, I decided to continue the trend of guys who were great 3 years ago by taking Jarvis here. I just figured worst case scenario, if Odell isn't exactly feeling the best and if he's not producing, I figured would be the kind of the counter beneficiary of that. So it's just another guy to have on my bench. 3 years ago, I'd be sitting pretty, but here we are.
Yeah. Okay. Marvin Jones to Tyler.
I needed another receiver. Nothing.
There it is.
I mean, he's a good player.
We're at that point in the draft.
That's all I got for him.
No,
Yeah,
I mean,
that's all I had for him.
Hopefully a healthy Matthew Stafford. That will play good for him. Obviously, Kenny Golladay is the number 1 there.
Right.
But Marvin Jones definitely has a role there, and you could expect probably an increase in work for like.
Oh yeah.
But I do.
I didn't
like
just take him because, but
yeah,
good player.
I think it's a safe pick, and again, you already have your
you
starting receivers anyway, so you're talking about a guy that you're using on a bye week or in case of an injury. So
Exactly.
And then Beefy, again, a guy that we mentioned earlier in Hollywood Brown, hopefully fully healthy. Well, hopefully for their case, fully healthy. You take him and Brandon Cooks back to back.
Yeah. I mean, my main pick was the Brown pick. I think he's going to improve off of last year's stats. I mean, he had 7 touchdowns and his yards weren't a ton, but especially based off his first game. But I mean, this is my 4th wide receiver, and then Cooks was my 5th. I really didn't know what position to pick at that point. And so I was already on the position, wide receiver position board. So I was like looking at it and I was like, whatever, I'll just take him. I mean, he's going to be one of the top receivers in Houston for Deshaun. So it's whatever. He's my 5th wide receiver, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, we're getting to the point of the draft where every statement ends with "it really doesn't matter." So
yeah.
But okay, this is an interesting pick, Tyler. Alexander Madison. Depending on how the Dalvin Cook situation plays out, this could be very interesting.
That's why I took him. That's why I took him, because I know he looked good last year when Cook was out. So if that situation deteriorates, I have the starter.
Yeah, I mean, this
And
is a
he's
guy
my
that
bench.
I was looking at to potentially handcuff with the player that Fantasy Pros decided to give me, as opposed to Nick Chubb and Dalvin Cook,
Right.
that I was looking to handcuff with. But hey, it is what it is. I do think that Alexander Madison's a talented running back. Should he get the opportunity, I think that he could produce, flex consideration if something were to happen with Dalvin Cook. Donnie, Hunter Henry here.
Yeah, I just needed a backup tight end. We saw what Hunter Henry could do if afforded the opportunity. Granted, that was with Phillip Rivers. Here's to hoping Justin Herbert or Tyrod Taylor, who can't throw the ball further than 40 yards down the field, continues to check down to a guy like Hunter Henry. Yeah, I mean, I just needed a backup tight end. Bye week didn't interfere with Evan Ingram, so.
Okay. Yeah. Jake, you do Christian Kirk.
Yeah, who cares? No, I mean, hey, it's another upside pick in an offense that a lot of people believe are going to take the next step. Feel like he's the strong number 2 there. Again, a guy who can win vertically as well. So, you get some boomer bust weeks out of him. And who cares,
Yeah, again, who cares?
So.
Devin Singletary to Ryan.
I honestly have no idea what's going to happen with Zach Moss being there, or what's going to happen with like the goal line work or anything. But ultimately, he is going to get probably a lion's share of the carries, what we can assume. And he showed that he could produce quite a bit with the carries he did get last year. I mean, he did have 785 yards, it looks like. So honestly, not a bad gig for a guy first time on the offense. So maybe second year, they'll give him a little more workload.
Yeah. Okay. Logan, Matt Ryan.
I need a quarterback. I like Tim best.
Okay. I think that's what Atlanta was thinking when they drafted him too. Okay, it looks like Nick is off the phone. I think he was trying to make a deal there for something. But we saw our first kicker go off the board here. It's Harrison Butker of Kansas City.
Yeah, I'm always getting to pick when I have to talk, so hang on, just give me a sec.
Yeah, it always happens that way. Also, Logan, I just saw that most recent pick that we're not talking about yet, but
ooh, I saw that too.
I don't know.
Okay. Smitty, it's your pick. Okay, so kicker, most underrated fantasy position in the game. People write them off. If you get a high scoring offense, they're going to get their kicks. They're going to get a very low ceiling, but a very high or low floor, high ceiling. If it's in a high scoring offense like Harrison Butker is, I think he's going to get 9 points a game for you, which is decent for kicker. If they don't, they can get 3 or 0 or negative. So I'm just playing it safe, drafting him, maybe reaching, but I like kickers.
Does anybody have anything to say about that one?
Yeah. Honestly, something I do with like a buddy's draft from home, like we do it like in next week. So it's like before injuries and whatnot. It's like 18 rounds. I don't even take one and just wait for the season to start and just get another good bench player who may, and just I hate it.
I mean, I either just pick a kicker that kicks in a dome, or I'll reach two rounds early maybe when everyone else is picking the I don't care picks and take the best kicker at the possible position right there.
I think that's what Nick
Same
did.
thing with the defense too. You can reach for a defense a round or two early to make sure you get the best one when everyone else is just getting the filler picks.
I think the only thing about Butker that I wouldn't like is that he'd be kicking a lot of extra points, not field goals.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. And that's what I mean by the floor and the ceiling.
The
Yeah.
Chiefs were actually a really bad red zone. Not really bad, but they were a bad red zone team last year after being really good 2 years ago.
Find a bad red zone team and pick that kicker.
I remember like 4 or 5 years ago when the Eagles still had David Akers. They couldn't convert a 3rd and 1 to save their lives. And that man kicked more field goals than I've ever seen anyone else kick.
Yeah, well, I mean, Donnie and I talk about our strategy with kickers and defenses on here all the time. It's kind of just we take them with our last 2 picks, and week by week we'll go on and look who the kickers and the defense are playing and picked the best one that's left on the waiver wire.
I think it's total preference. But I'm with Ryan.
No, yeah, I know.
Yeah, I think it's total preference, but I'm with Ryan. I would rather reach for the ones that I want and get him and be happy rather than go fishing for him.
So
No, and to Nick's point, like if your league still has defenses and kickers, that's not a position you can ignore. Like you're just going to need to fill that spot out week to week. So if you're going to have somebody in that spot, why not have one of the best?
Mm-hmm.
So I go with my backup quarterback here in Carson Wentz and my backup tight end in Austin Hooper. We've mentioned Austin Hooper a lot, just about replacing his targets in Atlanta, but he's now in Cleveland. Going to be interesting to see because it looks like David Njoku is going to be staying there as well. So, I'm not sure that I love it. I really didn't care for the signing, especially what they gave him in terms of the dollar amount there in Cleveland. But, productive player in Atlanta. We'll see if it was more the system or the guy. But I'm not overly excited about him. But again, it's my second tight end. And with Carson Wentz, maybe I go based off matchup between him and Josh Allen. This is a guy that hopefully he gets better play from his receivers this year. We know the tight ends that he has in Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert. But I think that, he's a starting capable fantasy quarterback. He's right around, QB 10 to 12 for a lot of people. So, my back quarterback, don't mind that at all. And then we are back to Nick after taking his first kicker, he takes his first defense here.
Yep, I would rather reach for. I know they're not going to repeat to the number one defense. I don't expect them to, but I think they're still going to be a quality defense. They might let in some points, and they're not going to be totally high scoring, or you can't expect a defense to be, but they'll still do adequately well. So
you took San Fran's defense. Was there another defense you were considering there, or was it pretty much?
Definitely Baltimore. I like Seattle this year too, but I wouldn't reach that far. They're not in the same tier as the Ravens and the 49ers.
Okay. Logan, we brought him up earlier. J.K. Dobbins.
Yeah, it's a upside pick. If anything happens to Ingram, he's getting, 15 carries a game. I don't think he's going to be as great off the start as everyone maybe will think. I don't think he's going to dethrone Ingram as a starter right away. But if anything happens, it's a team that runs the ball a lot and they run it well.
All right. Okay. Ryan, I was curious which running back in Miami would go first. It's Jordan Howard.
Dude, there is absolutely that's just hunch reasoning on that one. It could be either one of them with Matt Breida or Jordan Howard, honestly. But I would see with the way Jordan Howard's career has been that he'd get more of like the 3-down work.
Okay. Jake, Marlon. So you took both the Indy running backs, Jake.
I sure
Marlon
did.
Mack.
Make sure you have a starter. That was pretty much I just guarantee that by taking Mac. So whoever ends up being the starter early on, if it's Mac early on, great. I have Mac for the majority of touches, and then when Taylor gets, potentially grows in the offense, develops, understands the scheme more, he can be the starter by the end of the season. So I have one, and I'm okay with that. I feel good about it.
Yeah. Okay. Donnie, Tariq Cohen, the other running back in Chicago.
Yeah. So while you guys were talking, I built a time machine, so I'm going to go back to 2017. The team will prosper. At this point, I'm really hoping I don't even need to use Tariq Cohen. He's just another body on my bench. I need a second running back on my bench. I like having kind of the multiple choices. But no, at this point in the draft, Tariq Cohen was the most well-established running back. So that's kind of what I'm hoping for at this point.
Okay. Tyler, you take your second quarterback here, Drew Brees.
Can't go wrong there. It's Drew Brees. I got to hop off, though, so I got a couple more picks. Can I just do them real quick and then –
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, so next I went defense. Ryan, Nick, you guys did the same thing. Steelers. No tackles for the Giants in week 1. They're going to eat. So, and we know how good the defense is regardless, but especially Bud and TJ going to go crazy with nobody to block them. Then I went with Lutz because, New Orleans kicker. Cook, again, Absolutely. He's catching the ball from Drew Brees. Plus, he's my backup tight end. So
right.
I couldn't complain about that. But anyway, guys, it's been fun. Got to hop off. I hear the kids crying. So,
all right, yeah.
But so thanks for inviting me. It was fun. And I will talk to you guys later.
All right, man. Thanks for being part of it.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Okay. Tyler, you followed that, taking Mike Gesicki, the tight end of Miami.
Yeah, really, I just needed a second tight end. And I figured why not take a chance on him. I was a big fan of him coming out of college. I liked him a lot at Penn State. And he increased his total by, I think, like 300 yards from last year. And I think he could increase it again. He was the second leading receiver on the Dolphins. Not saying much, but still. So I figured second tight end option is not bad. And then I went up with Ben Roethlisberger as my second quarterback. A little bit of a homer pick, but at the same time, I feel like if Ben's healthy, he's got a lot of targets that he could really put up some numbers. I mean, I feel like we've said it a lot on our normal show. People forget like the year before he threw for over 5,000 yards. So I think he could be decent. And with the addition of Eric Ebron and Chase Claypool, I think their red zone offense could improve as well. So, yeah, I mean,
that elbow, zero pain in that elbow.
It's whistling coming out of his hand, apparently.
Facts. Tyler already mentioned he took the Steelers defense before Donnie went and took Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, I just needed a quarterback, and Matt Stafford likes to put up a lot of points. He doesn't give a fuck about the scoreboard. So I feel like that's one of the best guys to have as a secondary quarterback. So, he finished probably, I think, 4 or 5 points below Lamar when it comes to average points per game for quarterbacks last year. And I get him towards the end of the draft. So,
right. Yeah. Second year, TJ Hawkinson, Kenny Golladay is there. Marvin Jones Jr. is there. We'll see. Jake, back to you with Philip Lindsay.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think Lindsay will get touches in this offense this year. So not mad at the value here in round 13. I mean, again, got to load up on running backs as much as you can early and late. So
that situation's one of the more interesting ones to me. You know, the way that Lindsay plays with that chip on his shoulder, being an undrafted guy, making the Pro Bowl his rookie year, and now they bring in Melvin Gordon to take touches away from him. It's going to be interesting to see what happens when he touches the ball. So, Ryan, you take the Ravens defense here.
Just give me all of that Ravens secondary along with Matt Judon. There's points waiting to be happened there, and it's kind of a gimme too. They're not weak in any facet of a term on defense.
Right. Okay. Now this is the pick that we were talking about a while ago. Logan, Rob Gronkowski.
Listen, for the 4 games he's going to play this year, he's going to be really good. He's Brady's BFF, and it's a backup tight end. They're probably all going to end up on the waiver wire anyway. So he looks good, and he might play good.
He does. He looks a lot. We know that he thinned out, but yeah, his body just looked completely transformed from when he was with New England. So he lost his WWE 24/7 belt, but we'll see if he can win a Super Bowl ring down in Tampa. Probably not.
Probably not.
Hope not.
Speaking of Tampa, Nick,
Probably will.
Ronald Jones.
Lay round filler.
That's it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Love it.
So they also drafted Keyshawn Vaughn, who actually just came off the COVID list. Be interesting to see how the touches are divvied up there in the backfield. But I'm hearing pretty good things about Ronald.
I mean, I like him, but he did well for me last year as a waiver wire pickup. So I'm not really expecting much because I'm pretty deep on running backs right now. So just in case of injury, I could still rely on him.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm hearing good things from guys that cover the Buccaneers about Ronald Jones. And, he did blow up for like one game on Thursday Night Football last year. So now it's my pick. I go back-to-back here with running back and receiver. Jamison Crowder of the Jets. This was Sam Darnold's guy last year. Even, Robbie Anderson's that deep play threat. But Jamison Crowder was getting, 13 targets in the slot. So I really like this guy as my, I don't know what he is, my 5th or 6th receiver. I don't even know at this point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's my 5th receiver. Really like the value here, Jamison Crowder. And then next to go Antonio Gibson. The reason being he's listed as a running back. We'll see how Washington decides to use him. But if you haven't been following the situation closely with Darius Geis, he's no longer on that team. So I think there's touch to be had in that backfield. Adrian Peterson, he's going to be playing football games right before going back to the retirement home. So I don't know what workload we can expect there. They are just running his wheels off down there. But either way, there's going to be some touches in that backfield to hand out. And I think that Antonio Gibson is going to see at least some of them. So I like, him as my fifth running back. Back to Nick with Matt Breida, the other running back in Miami.
I think I picked Tom Brady, or was that the next round?
That was the next round.
All right, Breida, same thing. Late round filler. Don't expect much, but I just like running backs.
Listen, Miami traded a fifth-round pick to San Fran to get him. So, I mean, not necessarily they gave up much there, but they gave up something to bring him there. He's going to be part of the offense. And, if it's a PPR league, I think, it's kind of up in the air which running back is the one to own in Miami, as we were talking about. But, standard, I'd probably go Jordan Howard. PPR, I think it's more up in the air where it could end up being Breida. So I like this pick here, to be honest with you. Logan, Buffalo Bills defense.
Defense. They play outdoors, and they're good.
Cold weather. So,
Division's bad.
yeah, division's bad. There's
Division's
a lot of
bad.
factors there that point towards you drafting them.
Yeah, Ravens was gone, so Bills.
All right. Okay. Ryan, a potential breakout candidate at the tight end position here. Jonnu Smith.
The Delaney Walker era is kind of over now for Tennessee. Step in Jonnu Smith came in the end of last year, or kind of the middle of last year, and started kind of showing what he could actually do on the field. Ryan Tannehill seemed to use him quite a bit in that offense, and hopefully that translates to this year as well.
All right. Okay. Jake, you go Darius Slayton here. New York Giants.
Daniel Jones garbage time.
True.
Enjoy the Giants being down. I mean, again, this offense has Ingram. I mean, Sterling Shepard's there. He gets hurt a decent amount. You're not probably going to count on him as much as you are Darius Slayton, who had a nice season last year as a rookie. So I'm excited to see what he can do year two with Daniel Jones. And like I said, I think the Giants will be down a lot, but still, I mean, why
It
not?
doesn't matter from fantasy perspective. Those are the guys to have.
Why not? Yeah.
What did he catch? 8 touchdowns last year, I think.
Yeah, he had a really something like that. He had a really productive year for a guy who was he undrafted or was he late round? I don't even remember now. But
I think he was drafted.
I think 6th or 7th round.
Yeah.
So,
Donnie, I don't know. Once again, I don't know what you're doing here, taking a lot of guys in the Steelers division. But Justin Tucker, the opera singer.
Yeah, I'd fill out my defensive kicker right here, and like we kind of talked about previously, Justin Tucker is one of the best kickers in the NFL. He can routinely hit that from 60 yards. That'll really pay dividends whenever it comes to, if your league does have kickers in its league, that'll pay dividends whenever it comes to scoring. I mean, we see Tucker hit 15, 20-point games regularly, so a guy like him is really pivotal.
Right. Okay. Tyler mentioned that he took Will Lutz as his kicker. New Orleans offense, they're going to put up points, playing a dome. Beefy, you go New England's defense, and Matt Prater is your defensive kicker.
Yeah. I mean, the Pats defense is my favorite defense left, even though they're going to be missing some pieces that they did from last season. They're definitely not going to put up the fantasy points they put up last season. That's for sure. They were better than a lot of like offensive players as a defense. But I figure that'll still be the strength of their team overall. So why not? Plus it's a defense. It's whatever. And then when I took Prater, I was deciding between taking Prater and Zerline. And I figured in my head that Detroit would be kicking more field goals than Dallas would be. So that's why I took him.
Okay. Going with that strategy of getting into the red zone but not scoring touchdowns.
Yeah.
Okay, so Tyler took Jared Cook here, and then we're back to Donnie taking the Bears defense.
Yeah, I just took a defense. Usually I would look at the week 1 matchups and try to find a matchup that I like. Other than that, I typically stream defenses off the waiver wire, so there's not a whole lot of depth to this pick.
Nice.
Yeah, that's typically what I do too. Week to week, I just look at defensive matchups.
Yeah, same.
Speaking of defenses, Jake with Denver's defense here.
have you seen Von Miller?
Post-COVID Von Miller.
Yeah, that man's on a mission. Yeah, this is pretty similar to what Donnie said. I mean, yeah, I like a defense maybe for the first 2-3 weeks that has good matchups, and then go from there wherever you can, week to week.
Bradley Chubb coming back. Justin Simmons looking to get paid.
Yeah, Jarrell Casey.
Yeah. What
Could be a solid defense.
Who was the corner?
Oh, they got it Boye, too.
Yeah.
They brought him in. Be an interesting defense.
Greg Zerline here to Ryan.
Yeah, so one of my rules of thumb picking a kicker, do they kick in the dome and do they have a boot for a leg? And Greg the Leg is checking off both those boxes. He can consistently hit from 55 plus, which is really good if your league has bonuses for 40 plus, 50 plus, 55 plus. So it just kind of made sense to pick him there. I mean, he might not get as many opportunities with how high octane that Dallas offense might be. It might be a little more of the extra points, but we'll see what happens.
Right. Logan takes my favorite kicker in the NFL, not named Chris Boswell, with Young Ho Koo.
Great pick.
Yeah. I saw the name and I thought of Donnie Young Ho, so I just had to take him.
Thank you.
Makes sense.
Yes.
Makes sense. I like the pick.
I'm also cool.
This would have been wild because Tom Brady almost didn't get drafted, but here he is. Second to last pick. Nick takes him.
If you're going to take Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, you're probably banking that Tom Brady's going to do well. So this is kind of more of a trade bait insurance move in case Mahomes gets hurt, or if Tom Brady blows up in 3 weeks, dump him for an elite wide receiver or something like that. So.
Okay. And I round out the draft taking the Saints as my defense. I'm just thinking playmakers at all three levels. A lot of the defense and any defense that would have taken in front of them was already taken. So I go with the Saints defense here to round it out. Now to finish this thing off, I want to go around and say, everybody's least favorite pick and their favorite pick of their own. So we'll start in the same draft order we had. So Beefy.
Okay. Well, let me find my picks. Hold on. All right.
Draft board is super helpful.
Yeah.
Didn't even look at that until like the end.
Yeah, I see that now. Okay. Shoot. Favorite pick. I mean, my first one, Christian McCaffrey, is probably my favorite. I'll be honest. For the numbers that he put up last year, and I assume he's not going to have much of a drop off this year. But I mean, aside from him, honestly, Keenan Allen round 7, I like a lot. He was my 4th wide receiver taken, I think, or 3rd. I don't know which one. But and then do you want me to do least favorite now too?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Brandon Cooks. I mean, he's my 5th wide receiver. It was in round 11, and it was just kind of a fill-in pick. So.
Okay. Based off this, Donnie.
Yeah, I'm not super crazy or super against either of my picks. I'm kind of like midway in all of them. If I had to pick a favorite, probably Lamar falling to round 4, just based off of what he can do. And then probably my least favorite, probably AJ Green round 9. I feel like I could have waited for him a couple more rounds.
Gotcha. Okay. Jake.
Favorite pick. Oh man, that's tough. I like Cam Akers round 9. I like that a lot. That's one of my favorites. Just really think he's got the potential to have a lot of volume. Least favorite.
By week 4, I think Cam Akers is going to be the number 1.
I think he should be. I'd be shocked if he wasn't, to be honest. But yeah, least favorite, Michael Thomas, so he can go off and get 160. So he sees this and be like, he's not that good for the 4th overall pick. No. No, probably Courtland Sutton with Tyler Boyd and Gallup still on the board. Probably a little early for that.
Okay. Ryan?
Probably my favorite pick from a perspective of like making for a exciting fantasy season would be Allen Robinson, because I would really love to have this dude on my team the year that he finally like breaks out and becomes like a top 7, top 10 wide receiver at his position and put up the numbers to match it. Least favorite would probably be Devin Singletary, because I don't know what the hell is going to happen. And he's probably going to get those touchdowns vultured from him all season.
Yeah. Okay. Logan?
I wouldn't say it's my least favorite, but I hate the 6th pick where you have to pick either not Michael Thomas at receiver or a running back that has some question marks around it. But I do like Julio as a player. So my least favorite's probably gonna be Kareem Hunt in the 7th round. It's not great value. You don't really know how many carries he's going to be able to get with Nick Chubb eating. But at the time, there's not a lot of running backs to name that I'd take ahead of him. My favorite is probably Cooper Kupp in the 5th round. I think he's underrated. A lot of people either get scared because he's small and white or injury prone, either one. So I'll take him 5th round all day, every day.
Yeah, I mean, as we mentioned a couple times already, a guy that finished top 5 last year among receivers in PPR leagues. So you got him in round 5. Nick, least favorite and favorite picks of yours?
Least favorite, probably Higbee, just because if I really want to, I pretty much wasted a pick there, but I just need a filler right there. Filler late. I like Hawkinson from the Lions too. I don't think he got drafted. I would just wait for him too. I like him.
Beast.
He has good size, and I think Stafford will use him. Favorite pick would probably have to be James Conner, round 5. I think that's good value for picks.
Okay. Well, speaking of the Steelers, my favorite pick of mine, round 10, getting Deontay Johnson, a guy that I think breaks out this year with Ben Roethlisberger back. I just love the value there. And my least favorite pick was a selection I actually didn't make myself. Dalvin Cook in round 1 is a move that I would have not done. So, hopefully Dalvin Cook shows up ready to go and is the same guy that we saw for the Vikings last year and produces RB1 numbers. But, I wouldn't have done that. And even kind of like a least favorite move, I wouldn't have drafted Devontae Adams that early as well, because I would have liked to have gone running back early and waited on receiver. So from that perspective, I guess just the way that my draft started out was my least favorite, just because I didn't get my my picks in the time because I was worried about talking about everybody else's.
You just want to redo it?
No, who would you pick?
We can just restart.
I was going to take Nick Chubb and Austin Eckler back to back to start. Again, I think that just this year specifically, when I was messing with strategies and Donnie and I were going through, zero receiver and zero running back strategies, zero receiver was really getting me some good results where I was getting, those 2 running backs early, like I said, potentially Nick Chubb, Austin Eckler to start, and, still getting an elite tight end. And then your receivers, I was still getting guys like Amari Cooper there, even Cooper Kupp, was available, because as evidence from this, Cooper Kupp's not going till like round 5. So, I think that that's a strategy that I would probably implement, and I would have liked to have gone running back to start this. But it is what it is. I'm still happy with the way that my team turned out overall. But other than that, I don't know. Does anybody else have anything to kind of wrap up here? What do you guys think?
Actually, this had nothing to, well, I guess it kind of has to do with our draft. So unless I'm missing something, none of either Ruggs, Lamb, or Judy were picked. So I'm curious what you guys think. Who will have the best fantasy season out of those 3?
I think CeeDee Lamb will have the best fantasy season, but I want to wait because I don't trust rookie receivers.
I don't know. I think you got to give me Henry Ruggs on that. I pick between the 2 Bama receivers, either Judy or Ruggs, and I have to take Ruggs. He's just in a better position overall. Derek Carr, I honestly think is going to have a nice little big year for him this year. Darren Waller is going to be there taking a lot of those targets, but Henry Ruggs really doesn't have that wide receiver core that's taking away from him. They kind of put him in a position to be one of the top 2 receivers on the team, if not number 1.
Yeah, that's
right there with Ryan. Yeah, Jerry Jeudy has a guy like Cortland Sutton opposite of him. He also has KJ Hamler. If you're really a big believer in him.
Noah Fant.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Bayshon.
Yeah,
No.
And then obviously in Dallas, you have Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup for CeeDee Lamb. So I think opportunity-wise, Henry Ruggs is probably the best rookie receiver if you're going to draft one.
CeeDee Lamb was my favorite one of the 3
Same.
coming out. But I look at, we've already mentioned it a couple times as they were going through why they would pick Ruggs. But I just look at the situation that they're all in, the opportunities, and at least I just feel like Ruggs is going to be the guy in Oakland where the other guys are looking at being, the second or third option, at least to start. So Ruggs would be the guy for me off the bat, but that could easily change throughout the course of the season.
I like Lamb to the point where Randall Cobb leaving gets him 80 vacated targets. Well, I think Jarwin might eat into some of that, or just increase targets for Amari or Gallup or even like Tony Pollard along the way. But I think you're looking at least 70 targets, at least, just because so much were vacated between Cobb and Jason Wynn leaving.
Yeah.
From that
Jake, where were you on this?
Yeah, I mean, I think as far as producing year one, I feel like Ruggs is probably the best answer. I think right now is toughest competition for targets at wide receiver might be fellow rookie Bryan Edwards, which is a crazy thing to say, but I think the team likes Edwards a lot too, and they should. But yeah, I agree with Ryan. I think Derek Carr, you might see a nice little year. They get Josh Jacobs involved in the passing game more. I mean, I think Carr could have a good year, and I think Ruggs, I mean, it's so hard to project with Judy, even though I freaking Jerry Judy's awesome, but that's assuming Drew Lock breaks out year 2. We don't know. He's played 5 games. Could be slower for him in year 2.
Heaven forbid if Hunter Renfrow breaks out for a 110 catch season. If that happens, then I mean, my bad.
Oh man, wouldn't that be something? They do like Clemson players.
Yeah,
So
if this was a 10-man league, Ruggs, Judy, CD probably would have gotten taken for sure. Someone might have reached a little bit later on those, maybe like 10th, 11th round to kind of grab them.
Yeah.
But 8-man, there's just still so much sure talent there to give up.
Yeah, I mean, even going back and looking at who went undrafted.
Some good players.
I mean, like Sterling Shepard, John Brown, Emmanuel Sanders now in New Orleans, Mike Williams. But CeeDee Lamb is up there. He's the highest rated of the rookies. Jalen Rager's actually on here above Henry Ruggs.
Yeah, there's a lot of targets there at wide receiver for Philly.
Yeah.
Up for grabs, so.
And it's not hard to do better than their other receivers.
Yeah.
What do you mean Greg Ward didn't get drafted?
I feel like us in here had almost as many receiving yards.
Dude, I could beat Alshon Jeffrey in a route right now.
Zach Ertz had like double what the top wide receiver from Philly had receiving yards.
Yeah, got to worry about Goddard too. Dude's a stud.
Yeah. Okay, well, I think that about wraps us up. This was a lot of fun. Thanks, guys, for joining Donnie and I on doing this. But other than that, tell you guys one more time about Keeks Barbershop. It's an old-fashioned barbershop located at 180 Brighton Avenue in Rochester, PA. He's open 11 to 7 Tuesday through Friday and 9 to 4 on Saturday. And every Tuesday, he does $5 off for military personnel, first responders, and nurses. Again, that's Keeks Barbershop. Thanks again for joining us, guys. It's been Smitty, Donnie, Tyler, Logan, Nick, Ryan, and Jake. This was a ton of fun, and we will talk to you next time. Bye-bye.
Hey, see ya.